There's always been a couple issues with 3D printers, and the first being, of course, being able to get good prints out of it. The second, being able to get it very fast, because sometimes you can get good prints, but you have to print really, really slow. So getting something out faster is always better, especially if you can get good quality. And then third, and finally, being able to print with different types of materials without having to really mess with your machine too much. In the past, that's been a really tall order for a lot of 3D printers. Now, luckily, this K1 that we have here, that's changing that, and I really love it. Creality did send this to me so that I could not only review it, but also do some projects on the channel. And I see a lot more people going towards these 3D printers, and I think it's a really good idea for DIY work. Now, through my time of having 3D printers, one of the things that has always bothered me is the speed at which 3D printers print. You see, there's an issue with 3D printers in the fact that in order for them to print fast, they have to move really, really fast. And that's problematic because just like if you were to run and you try to start and stop, your momentum wants to keep going forward. And for a 3D printer to try to start and stop, it's really going to shake the machine, and that causes what we call resonances. So one of the issues with being able to print fast is controlling those resonances. Now, for the longest time, we weren't able to do this. What's really neat is when I got the Creality K1, I set it up and I plugged it in, which, by the way, it comes almost all the way pre-assembled. There's just a few little things for you to do. But once I went ahead and set this up and turned it on, one of the things it does is it does a resonance test. Now, what this means is it just starts vibrating the machine on whatever you have it on. So I actually put this on a table that was entirely too unstable for this, at least in my opinion. I mean, the whole table was shaking. I could have probably laid on the table and got a back massage while this was going. But what it does is it tests the resonances of whatever it's on. And it does that so that what it can do is whenever it finds an issue with resonances, it's going to create the reverse of it. So that way it can cancel out any resonances and print fast while still giving you really good quality. Now, I wasn't sure if it was going to be able to do that, so I printed off the benchy that it came with, and sure enough, not only did it print in about a quarter of the time of all my other machines that I have, it printed out just as good, if not better. And that's always been an issue with 3D printers. A lot of them take a lot of fine tuning to be able to get it to come out nice. This one, I didn't have to do anything to, and it just came out perfect. Now you might be thinking, well, that was just the benchy on the card, so of course it's going to do that. Well, since I've had this machine, I've printed a lot of things off of it, and I've had maybe one or two failed parts that have come off of it, and that is usually something that I did. Now, another issue with printing fast, like this one is printing fast, is cooling. And a lot of people don't think about this. In order for a 3D printer to be able to print fast, it needs to have that first layer that it just printed cooled enough that you can put the next layer on top. Otherwise, you're going to deform the part. And so Creality did something really neat. Now, if you take a look at how this is designed, the build plate actually goes down versus the nozzle going up with a lot of different 3D printers. And the reason why that is so cool is because they have this fan over on the side that's blowing directly on the layer that it is printing so that it can cool it really, really fast. And this really played a huge role in getting good quality prints out. I have not had a machine yet that has printed everything I threw at it like this one as good as it has. And I've had some that I was very impressed with the quality, but not like this. This is on a whole nother level. And it makes getting into 3D printing much, much easier. Because the concern with a lot of people with 3D printers is that they buy it and then they're going to have to learn how to tune it. Not saying that you shouldn't do that, but in general, if you can buy something and just get to enjoying 3D printing right away, it's a lot more fun. And that's exactly what this does. Now, the other thing is also printing different materials. Now, some materials really want to keep the temperature inside, whatever it's being printed in, really well regulated. And you can't do that unless you have some type of enclosure. So a lot of people will actually buy enclosures to be able to print different types of materials. You don't have to do that with this. This already comes with an enclosure, which is really, really nice. Now you'll notice that in my enclosure, I actually have a camera on it. Now this camera is an add-on that you can buy, really inexpensive add-on. And I really do like the fact that you can add this on for cheap. This allows you to actually view your prints from anywhere in the world. You can view it on the app that's on your phone, or also on your computer if you're connected to the internet on your computer as well, which is pretty neat. Not only that, it'll also, of course, record the video so that you have this nice little time lapse when you're done to be able to show your friends how it printed out, which is pretty nice. Now, what you'll want to see is when you turn this around, this is actually where your filament sits. It actually sits right on the back, and it does have a sensor that will stop the print mid-print if it does run out of filament, and then that allows you to be able to put new filament in. I mentioned how good the quality print has. This does do auto bed leveling. So one of the reasons why a lot of prints fail is that they don't get that first layer down well. And so this one does auto bed leveling, which will level everything out so that when it prints, you get a perfect first layer. And it really has worked really well for me. Now, if you're really, really into getting like the perfect first layer, you can go with the K1 Max. The K1 Max actually has LiDAR on it. And with that, it can actually give you the perfect first layer pretty much every time. Now, because this prints so fast, there is something that I've had to do that I've never had to do on any other 3D printer, and that's put down glue. Now, this does come with a glue stick on it, and I do wash it off every time and put new glue on there. But you need to do that because this prints so fast that without that glue, it's not going to stick. I actually tried it a few times without the glue. It didn't work. You definitely need that glue. Let me talk a little bit about the app that it comes with. The app is one of those things that I'm not a huge fan of. The app itself has some decent functionality in the essence of being able to watch your print as it goes on. But the app looks more like a Chinese website to buy things, and you can buy different plans and things of that nature, but it just comes across as almost this advertising splurge, and honestly not a fan of the app at all. But I do like to be able to monitor it. Now, one of the great things that I found about this printer is in order to print different types of materials, you need to pick the right feeds and speeds. And what that means is how hot do you run your temperature and at what speed can you print at. Creality's done a couple different things. One, they put right inside, when you open up the door, there's a little chart there that tells you how fast you can print. They actually have their own Creality slicer, and I've used this, and I mainly have used just their new filament. Now, their new filament's called Hyper PLA. This Hyper PLA does melt better and allow you to print a little bit faster than just normal PLA. And so I have been using exclusively Hyper PLA on this particular printer, and it's worked great. But I've used just the default settings in the Creality slicer and haven't had any issues with anything. And so I've been very, very happy with that. Now, inside the slicer, if you do want to slow down the speed, increase the quality of the part, you can do that. Now, you can connect this a couple different ways. You can connect it via USB directly from your computer, or you can do this wirelessly. Of course, you can also put the file on a USB stick, stick it in, and print from there. But for me, I do everything wirelessly. I just tell it to send right to the printer, and it's going to send it to the printer and print from there, which is really great feature to have. You know, after I've reviewed this and I've checked on a few different things, the printer that this replaced was actually another Creality printer. It was a Creality Ender 3 S1 with the Sonic Pad. And the Sonic Pad was a really cool idea. I like the idea of the Sonic Pad. But the problem with the Ender 3 S1 is in order to print faster, you need to upgrade your cooling. If you want to print different types of materials, you need to add an enclosure, right? And so it does do the resonance part and does do a pretty decent job, but I was never able to get like perfect results like I was with the Ender 3 S1 with the Sonic Pad. I have been considering actually replacing my kid's printer, which is now the Ender 3 S1, with another one of these because I really just like it that much, and I don't really want the kids to have to tinker all the time with it. But what are your thoughts? You tell me what you guys think about this Ender 3 K1, or if there's something that you would recommend over it. All right, guys, this is Toyd's DIY Audio, and I'm out.